Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Refresh Podcast. With this, I've been telling y'all for a while, we're going to be having a special guest on, and I am excited and delighted to have the Dr. Mike Diamonds here, YouTube sensation on the YouTube. He has helped me, but also has helped millions of other individuals reach their full potential, whether you're a business leader, busy and trying to find ways, how am I going to stay fit and how am I going to be in my best optimal physique? And he's the guy. He's the man. Again, I have, as I've talked about, y'all, I've been in football, career, everything. And I hadn't cracked it until I talked to Dr. Mike Diamonds. He um, got me together so I'm not looking like a dad bod when I have my son, man. So I'm trying to look good for my babies, man. So I have good pictures and
There we
everything.
go.
So again, just thank you. I want to just welcome you to the show. You're actually my first or actually my first interview, man. So I'm so thankful for you being here today.
Yeah,
Um,
man, Ryan, I'm excited. It's a long time coming. I want to say that was a gracious intro, and I'm super excited. I'll try and deliver as much as I can here. But man, it's been such a journey. I Every person I've ever worked with, we always become good friends, and like what this has been like a plus 6 months relationship in terms of the time we've known each other. And I know we said we'll do this once we hit our goal, and we hit it, and here we are. So I'm excited to go through this with you.
yeah, man. Again, it's I think it speaks to the power of goal setting and your vision and everything. And um, I want to really get to, and this is the thing. If you are seeing this on video, make sure you are going on YouTube and subscribing to this man's material
Yes, sir.
because this material actually helped me properly put in perspective the science behind what we're doing. Now, there's so many individuals who are doing and talking about fitness and how to do it in an approach, but you've done it in a science-based approach that is reliable, consistent, and proven. So,
Yes,
with all that being said, I want to really just give our audience just a brief overview of how you got to this point. Where were you before you became the YouTube sensation that you are? And we'll kind of just go in from there. All right.
absolutely. Well, to start, I think we can take it way back to like my childhood days to give you guys a bit of a backstory. So my mom's a nurse, right? And my dad's a diplomat. And at the time when we started, we couldn't really afford a nanny. So my mom would take me to work. She'd just take me to work and she'd say, sit here. Naturally, I love my mom. She's my best friend, and I would just help her.
Mhm.
She'd say, hey, bring this to me, bring whichever way I could help her, I'd help her. And I spent a good portion of my early days, early childhood. I wouldn't be playing with kids. I would be with my mom at the hospital helping her, right? Because that's how we would babysit.
Mhm.
And then at the time, she didn't trust anyone because we couldn't speak the language. So it was always my
Mhm.
dream to become a doctor. I went through pre-med, majored in biochemistry and microbiology as a way to get into pre-med
Mhm.
and to get into medical school. And as you can imagine, it's extremely competitive and it is also very expensive. So my objective was like, I wanted to be a doctor. The goal was to be a plastic surgeon. And again, I was inspired because of my mom. I saw her boss, as she's a nurse, was the doctor, and I was like, I want to take it to the next level. And honestly, that's what made me realize what makes me happy as a human being fundamentally, right? I say this all the time. I love helping people. I love seeing people smile. I love seeing people happy. That if you ask like, oh, what's your thing? What do you it's seeing people happy,
Mhm.
right? Got it through medical school and got through pre-med, graduated at a top 200 school at the University of Cape Town.
Mm.
And I worked my tail off, man. It's probably the some of the most defining moments in my life where I thought I was going to make it. It was super competitive. And I got a full ride scholarship to study medicine in Moscow, Russia.
Wow.
And at the time, it
Mhm.
was a scholarship awarded by my country because of just how well I performed academically. And I get to Moscow in my first year, and I'd lost myself in terms of my overall physique. I gave everything up. I didn't go out. I didn't party. I partied maybe to be able to release some stress. But most of the time I was just eating, sitting down, studying, eating, sitting down, studying. That was my life
Mm,
for a good three years. And once I got into medical school, I was like, this is not me. I couldn't recognize myself. My confidence was shot. I was terrible at even communicating,
mm,
right? I couldn't have a full conversation just because I was always in a lab or I was always studying.
mhm,
And then I was like, you know what? I want to change my body, and I went online, right? Because that's like the thing we do. I was a researcher, so I went online how to lose belly fat,
mhm.
and I go online, and they're like, drink lemon water, and the first advice is drink lemon water. I'm like, surely this isn't it. And that video had millions and millions of views, but I forgot it, and I went on and I searched for information. It took me about a year, but I figured it out. I went from about 30% body fat to 12.
Wow.
And during this time, right, because I'd figured it out, I put the pieces together with the science,
Mhm,
because I could understand. I could understand if this was information that was factual,
mhm,
or if this was just anecdotal information. And at that time, I started uploading. Instagram at the time was a platform to upload your food and like travel pics,
Right,
right?
right.
So people weren't posting themselves on Instagram. It wasn't a post, it was more so like what you were doing or what you were eating. That was the
Mhm,
niche of Instagram. So what I did, I was just like, I'm on this platform, I'm gonna have fun with it. And all I was doing was training. So I was posting these pictures
mhm,
of like me training my back, and I posted a before and after photo
mhm,
right after like 3 months already of the progress, and it was tremendous. And the photo got a lot of traction.
mhm,
I end up seeing that I got more likes than I ever did. I think at the time I was getting like 100 from my friends. That photo got 1,000. So in my brain, I was like, okay, so people liked this. And at that time, posting photos of your physique on Instagram was so taboo. They're like, it would be like, look at this guy. Now,
mhm.
obviously, it's the only thing you see
Right.
online, but it was super taboo. And I just kept on doing it because people liked it. And then I would have my friends call me and text me, like, dude, what did you do? What did you eat?
Mhm.
And I just kept going. I posted, and I think we got to like 20,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow. Early days.
And
That's a big deal.
early,
Yeah.
early days. And people come to me, he's like, dude, you're famous. I was like, really? Like, I don't, it was such a foreign concept to me because, again, mind you, I'm coming from this introvert scientist to now I'm posting half naked photos on Instagram. At that time, I wouldn't show my mom my Instagram because that time people were very conservative.
Mhm, mhm,
Then my friends were like, dude, you should make YouTube videos, right? You're so good at explaining this. You should make YouTube videos. Check these guys out. So they showed me two people, a guy by the name of Sean Thompson, who inspired me, and another guy by the name of Christian Guzman. He's the person who changed my life. If you said who had an impact on my life, it was seeing someone online, and his name was Christian.
mhm,
And they were sponsored by Gymshark, right? At this time,
mm.
Gymshark was a new brand. It was like everyone in fitness. If you weren't in fitness, if you weren't wearing Gymshark, man, I remember like, oh my gosh, I want Gymshark. I spent 6 months saving up for a camera. All right, every little piece
Mm.
of money I was getting from my scholarship, I saved. And then I didn't have enough to buy the camera, and my mom and my sister gave me enough, right? It was like
Wow.
$600. I had 400. My mom and my sister both gave me $100, and they said, buy your camera. I bought my camera, and I posted my first video on the 29th of December, 2014.
Mm.
And like saying, hey, this is me, this is my journey. I'm going to share everything with you. And I did not, that was at that day, I never put down a camera. I've not gone over a week without posting since 2014.
Wow.
I've posted each and every single week. Now to fast forward, I've become a doctor. It took 3 years before my YouTube channel got any traction. So I posted videos with just 200 views, 300 views, maybe 1,000. I loved it. I didn't care for the interaction.
Mhm,
And then this belly fat video I was telling you about popped up on my feed again.
mhm,
Now, mind you, it's 3 years later, and I remember watching this because it was what I searched for.
mhm.
And I was like, this is like, I realized how criminal that video was for people because it had like 20 million views, and
Wow.
it wasn't like the advice you needed. It was completely not the advice you needed.
Mhm,
So I said, I'm going to make my own version. like of what you should truly do. And it was a documentation of my day through medical school. It's
Mhm.
called How to Lose Belly Fat in 1 Week. I posted the video and it got like 2,000 views in that day. And I was like, oh, nice. It's 10 times more than I've ever gotten for any of my videos. But at this point, I'm very impartial
Mhm.
about my channel, right? It's just like, it's my hobby now. And it's like
Right.
how I document my progress. I come back from med school. I take a nap and I put my phone to my side to charge it. And I maybe like an hour into my nap, my phone is buzzing. It's like it woke me up. It was vibrating close to my head because as a med school student, if you miss your alarm, man, you're missing like surgery or something's happening. So you keep the phone right close to you. So I was
Mhm.
hearing the phone vibrating off the chart.
Mhm.
It was vibrating. I take my phone, and have you ever seen a lot of notifications come through when you've gone on airplane mode for some reason?
Yeah.
So that happens for a good 3 minutes. My phone is just notification. Like I
Oh
couldn't
gosh.
unlock my phone because of notifications. I was like,
Mhm.
what's going on? Did I get hacked? Like what happened? Right.
Mhm. Right.
And lo and behold, this video, I go online and I see the statistics, and this video has had 500,000 views out of nowhere. And I was just like,
Wow.
I text my friends. I said, dude, go on my channel and check. Like, is this right? And
Mhm.
they could only see that it had 50,000 views. On the back end, I saw that it had 500,000 views. And all those notifications were comments and likes of people asking me for this plan that because I wanted to help people. And in this
Mhm.
video, I said, hey, DM me on Instagram if you want my plan that I'm doing. So
Mhm.
all those notifications were coming from the video of people saying, hey, I want your plan. It was called Project Diamonds.
Mhm.
The rest was history, Ryan. That
Wow.
video in a day got 1 million views till today. In a day, my life changed. Literally 3 years worth of work on YouTube. My life
Mhm.
changed in one day. The video now has like 25 million, 27 million views. Totally. I got my YouTube check and I was out of the dorms. I'm like, I'm getting an apartment. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And the
Man.
rest is history, man. It changed my life forever. I never stopped uploading. I definitely considered dropping out of medical school because I was like, man, I'm making more than a doctor at this stage. Like, I don't need to be
Right.
here. But and in that time I was almost being swayed, right? Because I thought like, okay, now and with fame, quote unquote,
Mhm.
in my mind at that time, with like, hey, I'm getting millions of views. I was like, dude, you have one opportunity and you'll never get it again.
Mhm.
So I was like,
Mhm.
man, I need to go for it. I can leave med school and then come back to it. Everyone was like, don't do that. Like, keep on.
Mhm.
And it was a blessing. That was the one time, that was the first time my audience saved me because it allowed me to become the authority as a doctor online.
Mhm.
And if there's no skeletons on me because it's all online. It's
Right.
my
Right.
whole medical school, my whole journey is documented because I haven't missed an upload in almost a decade. Um,
Wild, man.
so that's the journey, man. And now we're here at 1 million subscribers and now on to two.
Man, that is incredible. That's an incredible story, man.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing that when um people are always trying to figure out what the key was that unlocked everything. And for you, it was consistency and it was just the timing. Maybe you can call it divine intervention that the same video that got you started was the one that said this information that's here now is not right. So let me course correct it so that people can actually be able to properly utilize consistent and quality information to reach their goal. And man, 3 years to become an overnight success, eh?
You're right. Exactly. Exactly. And I'll tell you this, I still see it today
Mhm.
where there'll be the work I've done last year, I'm only reaping the benefits now. So
Mm,
it's almost I've realized it's more so a pattern for
mhm,
externally to anybody. It's always going to look that way. It's
mhm,
always going to look like overnight, but I've realized that receive certain qualities, you need to have invested time, right?
mhm,
And I just see it now, even with coaching. For you, example, right? And
mhm,
you're coaching me. I spoke to you. And I realized, I was like, okay, this is where you are. This is the time and
Mhm.
the effort we need to invest to receive what you want. And here
Mhm.
you are, right? Like reaching your goal, crushed it. That concept exists with everything. And I feel that with a lot of people, once they realize that, is that you need to invest that time to be able to achieve the things at that level,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Example, you won't become a football player just by putting on the suit and then just thinking you can run routes, right? To
Right.
kind of use football, and you need to have had time invested in the craft to be able
Mhm.
to perform the routes and to be able to be physically fit to be able to sustain all those things. It applies to everything, and I use the same approach, and why I stay grounded and humble with everything that happens, because it's all time and being consistent about it.
That's and I think those keys really are what unlock the potential for people. And I find that as we were going through this process, so I've been coached by this man, and this man has changed my life. I have to get new pants because my waistline looks different. I've had coworkers and individuals say to me, "Man, what are you doing?" And I said, "Man, I've been coached by Dr. Mike Diamonds. You need to check him out on YouTube." And I think one of the things that we've kind of gotten away from in this process of it is that whether it's weight loss, and I think we ran into something I think I want to kind of uncover a bit, is the
Sure.
mindset around the change that you want to make. There were some things that you did and talked about in your story that there was something that you wanted to see. You weren't, there was a life that you were currently living that you didn't want to live anymore. And you started going through researching, cultivating, documenting that process and really unlocking the version of you that was keeping you from actually becoming that version that you are now. So, as you're going through and you're seeing clients and as you're seeing other people these days, what is the mental capacity that you usually have to get? Because once you get the science is there. But
Mm,
what is that mindset that you have to help an individual like turn on? And when it turns on, it kind of is like the tipping point for them to start seeing progress because it starts
mm,
inside. I truly believe that the
yes,
inside change first starts to affect the external change in your body. So what have you seen? What have you observed? And there's some keys and some gems here I'd like to uncover with you as we talk about that.
absolutely, man. So I've had this conversation with my wife. I've had this conversation with I actually had a conversation with my team yesterday,
Mhm.
and there's a video that's on YouTube where there's this guy who has a packet of gold little bars. It's gold bars, and each gold little bar is worth $2,000. So he's in the street and he's handing them out. He's like, "Hey, take this." He's in New York. Most people say no, I don't want that.
Mm,
There a lot of them are saying no, he doesn't want it. And to his relief, because he knows he's giving away $2,000, people like they look at it briefly and they go on. They're like, I don't want that. It's almost like they think they're handing a flyer to the person.
mhm,
And some people did. Now the story behind that is that there are people who are, number one, conscious,
mhm,
right? Because it's very easy to go on a day to day and just example, and this is what meditation taught me. You're sitting in a chair right now,
mhm,
but you're unconscious that you're in the chair, that this chair is holding you up as you
mm,
sit there and supporting your back, because your brain is so focused on this conversation.
mhm,
So
mhm,
as people, number one, we're very unconscious of so many things, even the air breathing past your face as you walk,
mhm,
right? So number one is consciousness, is understanding, oh, I am out of shape, right? And
mhm,
that's kind of what I went through. When I finished with pre-med, I came through a consciousness of like, dude, this is not who I want to be.
mhm,
And this story, just to tie in the story, the people who were conscious of what that man was handing over took that and then received $2,000 worth of gold.
mhm,
Now, to tie that in into fitness, the two things I see with people is, number one, they're conscious of their problem. They understand where they are. They say, hey, this is a problem and I need to fix it.
mhm,
Because a lot of people, especially with their weight, are not conscious, right? sometimes it's societal because everyone around them is of that weight, and this is normal, right?
Mm,
It's
mm,
normal to eat out every weekend. It is normal to go out drinking. We all have bellies. It's normal. Like this is the societal norm, right?
right. Hmm.
So you'll get a lot of people who are not conscious. And then the second thing, the ones who are conscious are the ones that's step one.
Hmm.
They know that they have a problem and they need to fix it. The second thing is the desire to change,
Mm,
the ultimate desire. There are many people who notice things about themselves and they'll acknowledge that, "Oh, I'm out of shape, I need to get into the gym," but there's
hmm.
no desire, right?
Mm,
They don't have this. It is not the most important thing to them in that moment. Most
hmm.
people have desires for things. Hey, I want to make $1 million. I want to get X car, and that is dominating their cortex. On a more
Hmm.
scientific level, there's things on your day to day that dominates your cortex that you're thinking about. Usually it's people's work, kids. There's things dominating your cortex, and that is the most important thing to you in that moment. But for clients that have consciousness and then the idea, the desire, and that's their main primary thought
Hmm.
is, I need to change this.
Right.
When I have those two things mentally, I know I can help them.
Hmm.
It, we're all human beings. There's nothing. And just to give an analogy, like I worked in the hospital where I saw people fighting for their lives. Like you have two hands, 2 feet, and you're breathing, you're fine. Like
Right.
there's things we need to change, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
That's not like out of our control. So I bring the science and I relate it more to the person, and also I even just this conversation as a coach, I've been able to learn this more and more as I've honed in on my craft to understand a person fundamentally.
Hmm.
So it's those two things: it's consciousness and desire. And when they have the desire, they make the decision like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this with you. Let's do it."
Hmm.
And they receive, right? So
Mm,
example, Rand, we had that conversation, and you were ready to receive because you had those two things ready. If you didn't have consciousness of like that, you had this, you'd have
mhm,
said, "Hey, Dr. Mike, let me get back to you, man. I need to do XYZ, all these other things that are dominating your cortex." Or
mhm,
if you didn't have the desire, if you're like, I kind of like this look, it's a good look for me. Or, some people say, hey, I don't want to be too skinny or whatever
mm,
else, then they're not ready to receive. And
mm,
you had those two things, and anyone I work with have those two things typically. And all I need to do is apply the science because I know that they're going to follow through because the desire is there and
mhm,
that they understand. And as human beings, you need that to get them past, you need that to just make them take the first step.
mhm.
And then the rest is automatic because you see it on your body,
Right,
right?
right.
You see it, you're like, okay, this works. And
Mhm,
as human beings, we like positive affirmation. We like good things happening to us. So then you just continue. So it's those
mhm.
two things. I think that was a long answer, but
No, it's good,
I've
man.
never heard people actually talk about that online.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you nailed it. I think and I find that the awareness, and this is the thing, you have to be very honest with yourself, with where you are.
Mm,
And a lot of times I find that there are life circumstances that actually make themselves apparent to you that I have to make a change, right? I think there's a quote that says sometimes people have to go through the process of it hurting bad enough in order for you to change, right? Um,
yes.
and unfortunately, I'm one of those knuckleheads. I sometimes it has to hurt in order. I'm a football player. Unfortunately, I gotta
Yeah.
get beat up a little bit in order for it to make sense. But it's actually we've conditioned ourselves that it has to be painful. And honestly,
Yes.
as we were going through this process, I realized it. And again, we talked about this from my perspective of being a football player. And it's about this time, it's almost like 15 years since I've started playing football. So I have been in performance mode for almost
Mm,
11 years of my
right.
life. And I remember you talking to me and saying, Ryan, you are no longer a football player. Your training was for performance. Now we're talking about aesthetic. We're talking about how you feel in your body. And that means you're
Mm,
not going to have to lift 300 pounds on the bench press or squatting. And I will tell you, man, that was an identity shift for me because I thought I'm like, man, who am I now if I lose all my muscles that I worked my butt off to get?
Right.
And I find that most people have maybe unconsciously associated their circumstance to their identity. And because of that, it's harder for them to dislodge themselves for something that's greater and something that's better. So, once those people have gotten to that point where they're like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, you have shown numerous individuals who have lost tremendous amounts of weight that have gone on to competitions, who have, I think I started with Donnie, for example, and he's made some tremendous, I mean, he looks great.
He's
So
fantastic shape.
as you're going through that, what, because a lot of this stuff doesn't hurt. Like, yeah, I guess, you have painful situations, right? Because you haven't done it. But for the most part, the resistance training is something that you actually like, you know what? If it's heavy, lighten the load a little bit and start getting the
Mhm.
form correct, those kinds of things. So, with someone who's like first time, just trying to figure out what they need to do, we have listened to the phrase that pain is gain.
Right.
Have you experienced with your coaching that euphemism? Is it true
Mm.
as we're going through that process? And is it something that, in order to know that they're getting exactly what they need to beat themselves down
Yeah.
in order to get there?
I see it all the time.
Mhm,
Matter of fact, I was having a conversation just before this with a lady. I see it today, right?
mhm,
Who wanted to work with me, and she was describing her history, right? And she missed our call because she had to go to the chiropractor.
mhm,
I have this conversation with her, and she's just like, "Hey, I used to be in shape, but I used to train for 3 hours, and I was doing burpees, I was doing all these things,
mhm,
and because of all these extreme exercises, very much like you, I cannot do them anymore, and I've gained all this weight, right?"
mhm.
And that idea of we all have this idea of if you work hard, and I told her the same thing. There's a big difference that most people never even realize between working hard and working smart.
Come on,
I'll give
man.
I'll give you an example. As I was uh, working to become a doctor in high school, I would work hard. So I would memorize the book. I would memorize a book,
Wow.
memorize it word for word. I would look at it, remember it, and then write it on another book. And I would write my that entire book onto another one because I worked hard and I'd spend a whole day on something.
Mhm.
However, when I was going through pre-med, I realized the books are this thick, so I can't do that anymore,
Right,
right?
right.
And it's the same thing as like when you get older, you have all these things you're responsible for, and your body cannot take this anymore,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So I then decided to work smart, and I was I learned that I need to understand the concepts that are being taught and relay them in my own way, and I can explain them now in 10 different ways. So I could just read it once instead of read it 3 times,
mhm,
and focus in on understanding what I'm doing, and I can remember it for the rest of my life because I understood, right?
mm,
It's like me saying, "Hey, if you try and put your feet in water, you will fall through
mhm,
because you cannot walk on water." You understand that. You don't have to learn that again, right?
mhm,
It's one lesson. You don't have to learn that again. So with people's bodies, is we're being, as you said, conditioned to work hard, right? You learn this. It starts with your PE classes,
mm,
then it starts with the coaching that you get in high school with, go hard. If you're not working hard, right, then you're not doing it right. So you get
mhm,
conditioned there again. And example, in the schooling system, not to go on too much of a tangent, they haven't updated their curriculum to what life is like today. So your
mhm,
kids today are still learning this, hey, hard work, hard versus smart.
mhm,
And then you get to college, if you continue doing sports and you now think, hey, I need to run like 10 miles. I need to do X amount of push-ups and pull-ups, and there's no scientific backing behind what they're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
So you get into and it's not a pattern, it's your belief system,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Until you can't do it anymore, where it's just not sustainable, and then people start looking for answers. And typically now, luckily, we have the internet we can go to for answers, and then people are like, okay, this guy's doing this and he's getting that result. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's where you start asking. And I went through the same, if you kind of heard me, is where I said, hey, I'm here. I went online, and then I saw what the guy was doing. I was like, that's not true. That can't be. That's anecdotal.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that path. I understand it. And it is my job to relay why. But as you said, I could explain the way you're training to you in so many different ways and why you needed to change that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the value comes in a coach, is the ability to convey a message, especially when it relates to their body.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why particularly people choose to work with me. It's because and this is no shot to other coaches, they don't fully understand the physiology behind what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So they've kind of just a lot of the time it can be copy pasted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That hey, like example, football coach will only know how to train you as a football coach. But
That's
say for
right.
me, I I understand when you do 20 reps, I know what's happening to each fiber versus doing 6 reps. I
Mm-hmm.
know what's happening to the fiber if you're putting on 300 pounds versus if you're doing, 5 pounds. And I've given you those type of workouts
Yeah.
before. So
Yeah.
it's that understanding and that knowledge that can allow you to shift and to
Mm-hmm.
elicit the result you want. So people are conditioned. I try and change that conditioning with the knowledge that I have through science. And then you can take that and you can apply it to the rest of your life. You don't, like I told you, I promise you, you'll never need another coach again. And here we are, right? And you're still seeing results, and you're in even better shape. I like this has been a while for people watching. I haven't seen Ryan in a while, and he looks like a different man again,
Yeah,
right?
man.
Because he now knows you now have this knowledge.
Mm-hmm. It's I think, man, you nailed it on the belief system part of it, and the working harder and not or working smarter, not harder. And
Right.
man, I think those are so like the cultural implications of hard work. And you know what? Sometimes what I find that is when you're in your work, it's actually effortless. It looks like
Yes.
work to other people, but you're actually in your bag. You're in your
That's
gifting,
it.
you know? So you're in that flow state. Like I'm thinking like Steph Curry or
Yes.
rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, right? Like he would just turn on, Black Mama and just start walking and doing exactly what he's created to do on that court, and it just looked like water. I mean, it was just so smooth.
Oh, it
When
was
people
so
aren't trying
easy.
to put on, it's like, oh, that was smooth. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, man. So so how can we help people? Because again, this is something that in as we're talking, I like having people kind of eavesdrop in a conversation like this, but how can we help individuals shift from that particular mindset of working smarter and not harder? It's there's some kind of, I don't know if it's a death to ego. It's something there that at some point you decide, you know what? I'm either putting in too much work and it's not yielding the results that I think I should be
Mm,
getting. There's diminishing returns. I don't know what it is,
mm.
but from what you've experienced and what you observed with your clients,
Yep.
and what can we do to help our listeners with that so that they can really start understanding how they can get in a flow state of their work and it still be effective without having to
Yes.
feel like pain.
Yes. I'm gonna give an answer that people won't like. The first one, right? I'll give a few options, but people won't like the first one that I give. And this is something that has changed my life dramatically. And as you said, it hurt my ego. So you may or may have not heard that some doctors will have this God complex where they
Hmm.
think they can do it all and they're just really good at what they do. So about a year ago, I I was running my business, running my YouTube channel, and I was in a point where my channel was successful, but I wasn't financially where I wanted to be
Hmm.
compared to my other, colleagues in this industry. And I was just like, what am I doing so wrong that isn't allowing me to be where all these other guys are living their dream life? It was so weird. I was like, do I need to go from 1 million subscribers to 10 million? Like, what am I doing wrong?
Hmm.
I felt pain and I decided I'm going to get help. And I got a mentor, he's my mentor, my business coach, my life coach. I hired a coach,
Hmm.
in short, right? Because I have a coach for my health and fitness. And mind you, I have a coach right now, right? I'm in competition prep.
Hmm.
And I was like, my logic was like, dude, I get help for something I know, but I know that having someone objectively tell me like what I need to do is amazing because it allows me a direct path to get to where I want to. So I was like, why not do the same with my life and with business?
Hmm.
And luckily, I got very lucky that my life coach was actually a client of mine because I asked him, hey man, what do you do? Right? He's a multi millionaire,
Hmm.
right? He's like, when I'm speaking to him, he has the whole palm of Dubai behind him, right?
Wow.
And I said, hey man, you may have seen my interview with him.
Yeah, yeah, early on,
Yeah,
like early time of the
yeah,
year, right?
that's right, that's right. And I
And we'll
spoke
link
to
that in
him.
the show notes. We'll link that in the show notes because it's a great conversation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And he changed my mindset. And over the course of 3 months, I 4x my income
Wow.
in 3 months. And it was just because I didn't have this information, this knowledge that I needed to be able to do that. And I was like, when he explained it to me, I was like, oh, duh, right? Example, I'll give you a very, very prime example. The coaching that I now have, I used to charge once upon a time $60 for. That was to work with me, to have my number, to and I
Hmm.
was because I had I like I said, I like making people happy. So my mindset was like, I need to help everybody, right? So anyone can afford it. And you believe you me, I had people texting me for refunds and they're like, this is not good. Like, and it was so stressful for me. And long story short, I got my mentor and I 4x my income. At this point, it's been 10x and
Hmm.
my life has changed as of getting
Hmm.
a coach. So my recommendation is if you want to reach a destination that you want to reach for you physically, get a
Hmm.
coach.
Hmm.
Why? Because that coach has done what you want, right? They have achieved what you want and they know the path. Because if you're here, your coach is here, your coach knows how to get you to this point. However, if you decide to do it alone, usually you'll take a detour here, you'll come back this way, you'll go that way, you'll
Hmm.
maybe be close, you'll go all the way back. And as I'm saying this, people are probably thinking of their fitness journey like, damn, I was there, then I regressed, then I did this, then I did that. And then
Hmm.
they start all the way from the beginning, and that could take you years,
Right.
right? Now trying years and years and years. But if you get a coach, they will give you a direct path to get to where you want. So if you want to get into your best shape and you have consciousness and you have the desire, get a coach. And again, like social media is so big, so there is availability.
Hmm.
And also, your only job is to do due diligence on the coach.
Hmm.
Do are they informative? And do they have a good reputation? And do they have proof that they know what they're doing?
Hmm.
And you can find them for different prices. And there's almost no excuse. I feel that, and I'm sure you know this, Ryan, that there's nothing more valuable than your health,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
So I say to people, like, if you're not investing in your health in one way or another, then you don't have those two things yet, the consciousness and the desire. But get a coach. That's the easiest way to go about it. Now, let's say you're like a student and you have zero budget and you don't know what to do. Then seeking information, just like you did, Ryan, and that's how you stumbled on my videos.
Hmm.
And I meet people every day of my life. As I leave this apartment, I'll meet someone who will tell me, your videos changed my life, and I never ever take that for granted. And every time I make a video, I take that into consideration. So there's information out there that you don't need a coach, and you can just take what I say on those videos and apply them and already see the results you desire. For the listeners, these are the guys that I recommend that I feel like are really good in the industry. Myself, Dr. Mike Diamonds on YouTube. Second person I think is fantastic is a gentleman by the name of Jeff Nippard.
Mhm.
Jeffnippard. Jeff Nippard. Jeremy Ethier is really good on YouTube as well. And let me think of one more person that I think is really good on YouTube for information seeking. I'll just name those three. They all have
Mhm.
millions. Athlete Next is a great person, right?
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
workouts, right? So these
Mhm.
are very big channels, and honestly, those three people, including myself, have 5 to 10 years worth of content on there. And if you have the time, you can consume it and have enough information to set yourself in the right direction,
Mhm.
right? To like be progressing. And like I said, I have so many people who come up to me every day and just say, "This worked for me." But those are the two things. Number one, get a coach. Number two is finding the right source of info. And in this day and age, we have the best. The only challenge now is most people, right? It's now a sea of information, so it's harder to choose where to go,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
harder to choose where to go. So that's what people struggle with is this information overload era that we're in.
Mhm.
So that I can agree with. But I feel that if you have enough desire, you're okay to sift through what is good and what is not and choose one person to listen to.
Right. Now that is, I'll tell you what, man, that coach piece, man, just as an athlete myself, man, there are,
Mm,
it's a, it's the knowledge and the process that the coach has already gone through that gives you
yes,
the vantage point to trust, and I think that's, I mean, that's hard for us these days is
it
trusting
is.
individuals
It
with
is.
our course of our development, our growth, and our fitness journey or personal journey. um your program now, I believe is that you have a over 7-figure business now with what you
Yes, sir.
do. You've been able to go across the world, and I remember one call you were in Dubai, and had the things in the background, the coaching call.
Yes,
um
sir.
so this has opened a tremendous amount of opportunity for you. And considering that you have people that have come to you on the street, or you hear comments, reading the comments or emails, and the evidence and relationships of people that's life you've changed through this program that you've done. Is there, what else is, and the thing is, like, well, I want to keep that last part, and I want to
Mm,
ask a question before that. And you've done it in a way that people are not sacrificing too much of their life.
mm.
I thought I would never eat pizza again when I started with you. I said, man, I'm not going to eat a pizza. I'm not going to have
Yeah.
anything. And, what I just want to talk about this because this is the pain part that I want to kind of cultivate a
Yes,
little
sir.
bit.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this, like, you can still live a good life, have good food, and still get results with obviously being mindful of those things. But, you know, how many times have you had to explain to individuals that you can have one refeed, get you a burger, get you a
Yeah.
burger and get you some sweet potato fries or something, but that's the one thing you can do, and then we'll get right back on it tomorrow. I didn't think I could do a bagel and egg whites. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I smash that kind of stuff on the weekends. I typically, like I said, I do my fasting, have my coffee and that kind of stuff, do my lunch, light lunch, and do some good foods. And man, I didn't even know the options that are available to me in order to do that. So we make it so hard on ourselves. So how can we change our relationship with food
Mm.
in that respect? Because we think we got to eat like lettuce and lemon water and
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah, man. I know where you're coming from, and I'll be honest, as a coach, I feel like that's one of my superpowers.
Yes.
It is, I get excited for the ability to go through that with somebody.
Hmm.
But in short, very much going to the beginning of what we're saying, we have the tendency to want to work hard and not smart.
Hmm.
That is exactly it, right? So, and this, you can kind of associate that with discipline and so on. So, with that same idea of working hard, when we decide we want to make a change, we say, hey, all we like to categorize all good and all bad, right? That's just how we as human beings function. We think in binary, excuse me, O's and ones, right? Zeros
Hmm.
and ones. It's on or off. But that's not how your body functions. Your body functions in a sense of flow and energy, right?
Hmm.
That's variable, right? You can be, you cannot be fully asleep. You can be half asleep, right? You can be in a different stage of your sleep that
Hmm.
elicits different things. And not to go too far on that, but what typically happens with us is that we decide, hey, I want to make a change. So we go very, very extreme and
Hmm.
we cut out all these things, right? Everything. We're like, oh, all these bad things are like the reason for what's happened. And it's the natural course because again, we've now been conditioned to work hard.
Hmm.
So we'll cut all these things out. Now, through my experience, I know that that is not sustainable.
Hmm.
And in some cases, and many of the listeners listening now, you will try that and it will last for so long as much willpower as you have, but willpower is a limited resource. And
Hmm.
eventually you'll be like, it's over. So the same applies to your ability to eat. You didn't get fat off of the one burger. You got fat of eating multiple burgers or multiple pizzas or right. You went
Yeah.
all the way this way and now you want to do go all the way that way. But that's not
Hmm.
how it works, right? Going all the way this way got you a bad result. Going all the way that way is going to get you a bad result.
Hmm.
And what we struggle with is the idea of balance, right?
Mm.
That's the one thing that I need to teach, and I'm sure you've kind of learned that with me, Ryan. And that's one of the first conversations we talk about is balance,
Hmm.
right? So as I mentioned, I because again I'm more experienced. I know what I can give that I and you I know how to give you, Ryan, that will afford you that balance because I know I've been here and I've been here and I know exactly the path. So I say, hey, this works, this works, this works. Now, for people who, I'll give you an example. If you diet Monday to Saturday, right? And you got 90%, right? Or whatever that like 93%, you ate your diet for those days. And then on one day you decide to eat everything and anything you want. Does that constitute as balance? The answer is no, because on one you, on it's lopsided. You're doing 6 days of really hard work and then one day of the opposite. That's not balance.
Hmm.
But what if I kind of shifted that and I said, hey, let me sprinkle a little of all of the stuff you're doing here on Sunday. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of that all over on your other days. And all
Mm.
of a sudden we're here. And then all of a sudden, these days that keep on messing you up don't exist anymore because now we've introduced balance, right? So then
Mm.
that's when I'll tell you, Ryan, hey, I want you to have this bagel here on this day. On
Mhm,
Tuesday, I want you to have this burger here on this day. And obviously, everything is tailored. So there's a science behind it. And this is where my value comes in because I know.
mhm,
But there's a balance. And you noticed in the plan I built you, there was a bit of everything every day. And
mhm.
what happens is that you don't have any desire for the Sunday because the sun you're enjoying every day.
Right,
You're having a good time. It's a fiesta for you every day versus hey, just Sunday, right?
right, right.
So that's the idea with the food. I definitely have clients that it's more so a challenge to break their mindset, but number one, it is costly to work with me, so they listen.
Mhm.
That's another important thing is like you're ready to listen to me.
Right.
And when they listen and they give it their all in the first week, and immediately it's like a mindset shift. You saw that, you experienced that, you ate what you ate and you came back 2 pounds lighter and you're like, here we go.
Man.
I'm convinced, right?
Mhm,
The proof is in the pudding, and that's all it takes is one week. And I think even just people listening to this advice aren't gracious with their own body to give themselves a week and even two. Sometimes it takes two because you don't know. For me, because I know what I'm doing, it will take you a week. For you that don't know, can take you a month. It can take you 3 weeks, and sometimes people aren't patient enough to see that happen for them.
Hmm.
But usually, just takes that one day. Very much like the YouTube analogy that I was giving about my career. As long as you keep trying, eventually one day you'll figure it out. So that's the thing with food, is more so you're looking for balance, and then we can get into the nitty gritties about protein, carbs, and fats. But as long as they're balanced, and even so with clients, I can go ahead and not build them a very specific plan
Hmm.
and distribute those foods that they enjoy once in a day, and they'll start dropping weight just because their habits will change,
Right.
right?
Right.
Their behaviors will change. So the analogy I like using is pressing the red button in the glass box,
Hmm.
right? If I tell you don't press the red button, by Sunday you're gonna press it because you're just curiosity and you want to press it instinctively. But if I get you to press it every day, you're not gonna care for it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if you kind of think like if I give you a little cheat meal every day, you're not gonna care for a Sunday cheat meal.
Mm.
So the same analogy, and if you do the opposite, you're gonna slam down on that thing on Sunday. So that's the analogy with the food eating.
Right. Right. That's some amazing insight because I think I find that at least when we started, right? I mean, I told you I love pizza, man. I'm a Ninja Turtle. I think
Yeah,
I told you. I
yeah,
said, man, I
I
mean,
know this.
you remember? I was like, man,
Donatello.
listen, yeah, that's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think what we came to, like, we can do a variation of this, right? You're like, try doing a pizza bagel, see how that does. And I remember I was like, oh, that was great. So the thing
Yeah.
is, these were some it wasn't exactly what it was, but it was a better version of what I
Mhm,
was able to experience. And
mhm.
back in the day, they had little bagel bites. That's what they used to have when I was young, little
Right.
bagel bites. And but it was like the tomato sauce, right? Little cheese and a few vegetable toppings or some meat, whatever.
Some
And
pepperoni on there a little bit.
yeah, a little bit. And it turned out I was like, wow, this is just as good. And I actually wanted stuff like that. And like you just said, it's that relationship with food and not vacillating back and forth. And you know what? I think balance looks different to people. And most people think balance is like I'm static, but really
Yeah,
it's a trying to balance both without like tipping over too much. So
that's it.
it's
That's
that
it.
tension, healthy
That's it.
tension and living
I
in that. Yeah.
and you can use that in anything in life. And I tell people all the time that I wouldn't have become a doctor without health and fitness, because I learned that from health and fitness, and
Right.
I apply that to everything. I'll give you an example. Is I love driving now. I love driving fast cars and stuff like that. That's my little inner child that gets really excited. Obviously, I don't have the luxury to drive every day because I'm working,
Right. Right.
but you get an opportunity here, you get an opportunity there, you sprinkle that, and it's like a life balance, right? You put a little bit here and you get a little bit on the other way. So it applies to everything. And there's definitely times I can catch myself where I feel like it's not balanced. I say to people I have an addictive personality, and I realize, like, let's say for my business, for example, I want to go where I want to work. If I could, I would work 24/7.
Mhm.
But I realized that I make poor decisions after the seventh day.
Mm.
Every time I would work, and I've done this before. I would work the whole week without a day off. Day 8, I made a poor decision. Day 9, worst decision. Day 10, an even worse decision. So I
Mhm.
would keep on taking one day off, and that allowed me to be able to like make better decisions without making these mistakes. So it
Mhm.
applies to everything.
Mhm.
And yes, for sure, there are moments that you need to kind of push more.
Mhm.
And maybe that's why it took so long for me to see the success that I've seen so far, is because I I finally had enough pain to learn that and to discover that about myself. And this is like that's just life, right? You just need time,
Right.
and time is something we have.
Man, that's incredible.
Yeah, man.
Dr. Mike Diamonds, man. I know we're getting close to our time for this, and I'm just so thankful to you and the coaching, the mentoring, the encouragement, the challenges. I remember just sending you text messages about just like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna be like, and just being available uh,
Mm,
for counsel. You know, being my counselor as I'm going through this metamorphosis in my body, and my mind, and my spirit, and everything. So,
right.
um, I think what you shared with our listeners today is gold to get them started, to get them moving. But man, how can our listeners get more of all the things that you offer? I know we have the YouTube channel, but what other videos? I just want to make sure that they can connect with you online and in other ways. Because I'm gonna tell you, I'm evidence this works. He works,
Yes,
and
sir.
it works, and my life has been, like I said, better because of it. So, Dr. Mike, where can people find you, where they can
Yeah.
connect with you?
Yeah, man.
Give us
Just
that.
right before I dive into that, Ryan, I want to say, for your listeners, a big congratulations to you, man. I remember on our first conversation, we spoke about this very podcast and how important this podcast is to you, and how you wanted to change to show up for your audience and to be better for your audience. So I want to let people know that Ryan is putting in work. He was putting in work behind the scenes, not telling anyone, not then he can share it, but he put in work. And hats off to you, man. And you persevered, and you've been an incredible client to work with throughout and even now. And I like, if, again, for me, it's relationships that make me really, I love helping people, and you were happy and ready to receive the help. So even like this podcast is, it's so nice for me. I'm gonna go out and continue the rest of my day with really good energy, and that's just the type of person you are. So I want to say a big congrats to you, and for just being such a good human being. I
Um,
have tremendous love for you. And on the point of people who want to connect with me, number one, if you're seeking information, definitely go on to my YouTube channel, Dr. Mike Diamonds. If you want to find the most valuable videos, in the sense that I want to get this information quick, I want to kind of dive straight into it, the easiest thing you can do is click on my videos that have the most views, right? And just start there. And why I say that is because algorithmically they've been proven to be the most valuable and the ones that people have watched the most. So I think that's a good starting point. And then you can kind of dive deeper into all the other videos that are surrounding that, right? So if you go to my YouTube channel, just hit popular or most viewed and
mhm,
watch all of those. And if you watch 10 videos, I promise you, you will know what to do next, right? And then secondly, if you want to connect with me more deeper, my Instagram is drmike.eth, and I'm in there. I'm in the comment section there, and you can always send me a DM there. And on Instagram, you can find me there in the DM. You can comment if you definitely want me to see it. Like, comments, I'll always catch, because I know that person is directly supporting me, so I'm definitely gonna get back to them. Those are the two main platforms I'm on, and I'm I'm here to help. That is like my selfish thing that makes me happy. So those are the two platforms, man.
awesome, man. Well, thank you so much. I know you're a busy man, but thank you so much for carving some time out and sharing what a refreshed life looks like once they found their purpose and what they've been designed and created to do in this earth, and leave an amazing, amazing deposit in people, and
Mm.
doing what you've been purposed to do. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining today's podcast. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Cheers.